Hello again, this is Mark Mitchell, and today's recording we'll talk about some of the thoughts I had regarding our second discussion board article entitled Hanging Tongues, A Social Encounter with the Assembly Line, written by William E. Thompson. And in this article, Thompson depicts a very sobering condition for many jobs that are considered undesirable, although consumers desire these products. It details an assembly line worker's life in a beef slaughtering plant. That is the focus of Thompson's article. He tries to examine the employer demands, social life of the workers, including their interactions or lack thereof with other employees, meeting the work expectations for the job, maintaining their self-worth, and what is described as the financial predicament for many of these employees. The study took place within a major beef processing plant in the U.S. Midwest, and it was the setting for the current article and study. Thompson found that a majority of minorities were working on the line that he himself found a position for. He was also working in this plant, and that explains how he had his information. There were generally no women or blacks were included in the lines that he worked on. There was no reason in the article given for why there were no black men working in the beef slaughtering plant. The reason there were no women is they were not thought to be strong enough to complete the physically demanding tasks that were involved for this job. Now, Thompson overall spent 9 weeks working at this plant, and then he went through, of course, the standard process to obtain his position with this plant. The demand of the line was found to be physically exhausting for Thompson. The human interaction that took place was complex, but it was best characterized really by a supervisor/subordinate relationship in a hierarchical nature. So really just boss and employee and nothing more than that. The foremen and laborers made up the workforce. Thompson makes a comparison of these workers to the overseers common on plantations in the Deep South years ago. Distrust was a common feature between these two classes of workers. Line workers knew little to nothing about each other, although they had worked beside each other for many years in some cases. Each worker developed a look-out-for-me only attitude. The only other unity that Thompson noticed was a we are all in this together attitude because of the daily monotony that workers experienced. Noise levels in the plant were extreme, and as you might imagine, the smell was bad. Additionally, Thompson remembered some other aspects of the interaction that took place within his work experience here at this beef processing plant. For example, symbolic hand gestures substituted for language. No clocks to tell time were found on the kill floor. There was a conscience looking out for oneself first attitude among workers. So this was the second appearance of that attitude mentioned by Thompson. There were dangers constantly faced by the workers, and in particular there were 3: monotony, danger, and dehumanization. Ways to cope with these dangers were daydreaming, fantasizing, listening to imaginary music, were some of the ways that employees, the line workers, were able to pass the time while performing their duties. Serious injuries were a part of the job that occurred much too frequently. Thompson noticed cuts and bandages were the most common. The more serious cuts were always deemed the fault of the worker himself. The dehumanization gave rise to a new species of inhuman beings. Workers knew that management did not care about them even if they died, let alone injured on the job. Workers engaged in deviance in order to maintain their humanity. Some of the ways that this deviance was expressed by the line workers was engaging in forbidden behaviors by the company. Assembly line workers in general engaged in sabotage because of the conditions that existed in their workplace. Informal and formal sabotage efforts were utilized by the workers to get even with the company. Now, despite all these negatives, the beef plant attracted workers because of the relatively high wage that it offered those potential employees. At any rate, there was a high turnover rate despite this higher wage. Thompson refers to this as the financial trap in his article. Most workers were employed right after high school because it was the highest paying job that they could find. Most of the workers had plans to work for a little while and then to move on quickly, but this never seemed to materialize, and hence the financial trap that Thompson talks about. Thompson ends the article by commenting on a phenomenon that he finds interesting, including the worker unity, coping methods to deal with the workday and task, and the financial trap, which sealed their fate as long-time workers in a rotten situation. Conspicuous consumption was an attempt to cope with all the negative aspects of being employed at a beef processing plant, and at a young age they now had money that they could spend on frivolous things that really didn't matter, is what he was trying to convey with that idea of conspicuous consumption. I hope this helps you as you read and formulate your response. Thank you.